I think foremost, it's been a pleasure to co-host with the Global Health Supply Chain Summit. This is clearly a case of more with less, more outcome for both the programs, more outcomes in terms of synergistic conversations, and it's been a delight to make this happen. Before I introduce my speakers and get our inaugural session going, I just want to step back 2 years, reflect on why this started and how it started. It really was a platform that was developed in response to a stark need. So the East Africa Pharma and Biotech Conference is truly a unique platform in that sense. Most of us here have heard the discussions around regional manufacturing, have been part of it in different contexts. Post-COVID, the need for that was so clearly emphatic that in the absence of a regional pharma manufacturing value chain, biotech manufacturing value chain, health product manufacturing value chain, vulnerability is high and health security is not possible. So the reality was stark, and it was, and I've been part of this journey since 2021 now, and it was extremely encouraging to see all partners come to the table. Right? We've seen efforts on regulatory capacity development. We've seen efforts on governments playing key roles as anchors in demonstrating, exemplifying what political commitment look like. DFIs bring funding to the table to make it happen. Private sector respond to call to action, but largely remaining confused about what it meant for them in what the future looked like. And this was clearly teamwork. It was not going to happen in silos. It needed convergence, it needed alignment, it needed stakeholders to come together, focused on this common goal of nurturing a vibrant value chain for health product manufacturing in Africa, be it at a national level, regional level, but really continental level as a larger goal. And that's why EAPB was born 2 years ago. It was born with GIZ's support. I'm looking in the audience to find the people who made it happen the first time. It continued with GIZ's support. It's expanded this year with strong support from Expertise France and Team EU and the GHSES partnership, and a continued factor being Rwanda, government of Rwanda as an anchor host, demonstrating how that convening is so critical to accomplish common goals. And so on that note, I'm extremely delighted today to have such an exemplary speaker, such exemplary speakers get us started on the EAPB 2025. I will let a little cat out of the box that we've been thinking of making this broader, and you will hear on that later as some of that co-conspirators get to the table and hash out what that means. But without much ado, I'd love to get us started here. To have our opening remarks delivered. The government of Rwanda co-host for the last 2 years has been the Rwanda Biomedical Center with the Africa CDC. We couldn't get this started without Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, in the room, actually welcoming all of you with the opening remarks. So to do that, I have here the Deputy Director General of Rwanda Biomedical Center, Jane Umuhure. Jane, please request you to come on the stage. And deliver the opening remarks. I'm also going to request all of our other opening dignitaries to come up on the stage and use the chairs. We'd love to have a full house in the inaugural session. So I'm going to call on the other dignitaries to come up as well. Elise Hadman, Head of Cooperation at the European Union Delegation to Rwanda. Our guest of honor, our very favorite Prof. Emile, Director General of the Rwanda FDA, and our industry keynote, Danny Mutambi. I please request you to come on the stage. And on that note, I will pass the mic to Jean without much ado. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Mwaramutse neza. Good morning. Bonjour. Good. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and partners, it is a privilege for me to welcome you to this year's EAB conference. At RBC, we're immensely proud to have hosted the first 2 annual editions of EAB, creating a much-needed platform for knowledge sharing, networking, showcasing innovation, and catalyzing action. Our technical partnership this year reflects our shared commitment to strengthening Africa's pharmaceutical and health product manufacturing ecosystem. The EAPB addresses a critical white space in Africa, a dedicated forum for stakeholders to convene on the vital topic of value chain development for pharma and health products. This is not just a technical discussion. I believe that it is going to be a strategic imperative for the continent's health security and economic resilience. As we recall, the COVID-19 pandemic was a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that we face in this continent in terms of global supply chains and the urgent need for regional manufacturing capacity. Therefore, building robust value chains within Africa is no longer an option. It is an essential strategy to safeguard health security, ensure timely access to medicines, and foster sustainable growth. Rwanda has been a champion. We've positioned ourselves to be a forefront runner in addressing this continental priority, not only with a national lens, but a strong focus on regional and continental needs. Significant investments are being put in to ensure that we build the technical capacity, create an enabling environment for industry, and therefore bringing about investment opportunities that are going to attract our global and regional partners. These efforts underscore Rwanda's strong commitment to driving sustainable manufacturing ecosystems that serve Africa as a whole. Hence, it's a pleasure for Rwanda to be a partner in this event and host the critical continental and regional convergence. It is also my pleasure to say that we're co-hosting this event along this year's edition for Global Health Supply Chain Summit. This expands the power of the Convergence platform and reinforces our shared vision for collaboration. We deeply appreciate the continued support that GIZ, Expertise France, other partners, especially the European Investment Bank, the German Corporation, and we acknowledge Satuguru Management Consultants as our knowledge partner. As we gather here today, let us affirm and reaffirm our collective resolve to transforming ideas into actions, partnerships into progress, and challenges into opportunities. Together, we can continue to shape a future where Africa is no longer just a consumer, but rather a producer and an innovator in terms of health solutions. Let's together transform and translate this reality of the possibility that Africa can be a nurturing and vibrant ecosystem for pharma, biotech, and health products manufacturing. I thank you all, and I look forward to the rich discussions that are going to be coming in from these discussions today and the collaborations that are going to help us go far together and fast. Thank you.
Thank you, June. That call to action was quite clear, and it's always a warm welcome from government of Rwanda. But beyond the warm welcome is emphatic commitment and true political will, and we've seen that. Thank you very much. And that I will request our next inaugural speaker to deliver the opening remarks from the European Union. We have Elise Hadman, the head of cooperation at the European Union delegation to Rwanda. Elise is the head of cooperation at the European Union delegation. She spearheads management of significant EU financial and policy support across sectors. Her work has been crucial in shaping collaborations to align Rwanda's national development goals with the EU's Global Gateway strategy, which includes significant focus on regional and local manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, biotech, health products, and significant support to vaccine manufacturing within that. Thank you, Elise. May I please request you to deliver the opening remarks.
Mwaramutse neza. Dear organizers, Honorable Professor Bienvenue, dear DGG Umuhire, dear Mr. Mutembe, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure for me to be here amongst you at this East African Pharma and Biotech Conference, the third conference here in Kigali. Kigali, which remains a vibrant city embodying innovation, resilience, and partnerships. This conference takes place at a decisive moment for Africa's health and industrial transformation. The lessons of COVID-19 were clear. No country, no region should depend entirely on external supply chains for essential vaccines and medicines. Resilience must come from within. And the European Union shares this conviction, and it is at the heart of our Global Gateway strategy. Through Global Gateway, Europe is working with African partners to invest in critical sectors that build shared prosperity and strategic autonomy, and particularly health manufacturing and biotechnology for health sovereignty. Our vision is to strengthen Africa's capacity to produce, regulate, and access high-quality products locally. This means investing not only in factories, but also in people, in skills, and in institutions. We are proud to work with the African Union in establishing the African Medicines Agency, AMA, an essential step towards a harmonized continental regulatory system and a thriving environment for local production. We met actually just yesterday, the DG of AMA, and she is actively working in setting up the institution for the continent. Specifically here in Rwanda, we are also very keen to be supporting Rwanda, as DG Umuhire said, a champion in the sector. In Rwanda, the EU's flagship contribution under MAF+, manufacturing and access to vaccines and health technologies, is already helping to make this vision a reality under a Team Europe approach. With over 51.5 million euros, the EU is supporting the Rwanda Food and Drugs Authority to strengthen regulation, helping to launch new master's and PhD programs in biotechnology, supporting MSMEs through the Bioeconomy Hub, equipping laboratories, and reinforcing the quality and reliability of Rwanda's global health supply chain. Most recently, at the Global Gateway Forum in Brussels, just last month, we reached another milestone together. The European Commission, the European Investment Bank, and BioNTech signed a landmark agreement, a 35 million grant from the European Commission, a 60 million loan from the European Investment Bank to support the Kigali mRNA vaccine manufacturing facility. This project embodies the Global Gateway approach, combining public and private investment, advanced technology, and local talent to deliver innovation in Africa for Africa. Once fully operational, the BioNTech facility will have capacity to produce up to 50 million doses annually, with the potential to develop other vaccines for diseases such as HIV, malaria, mpox, etc. It will also serve as a training ground for African scientists and regulators, strengthening the continent's security and innovation ecosystem. My colleague Edward Claassen from the European Investment Bank is here today with us, and he will be talking more in the next session about the Human Development Accelerator and the opportunities for blended finance from the European Commission and the European Investment Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, all these initiatives, Global Gateway, MAF+, the BioNTech facility, the Human Development Accelerator, our support to the African Medicines Agency. All these share a single purpose: to build a sustainable health ecosystem that empowers Africa's people and institutions. Together, we must continue to invest in human capital, strengthen regulatory systems, and foster an environment where science, business, and policy work hand in hand. By doing so, we can ensure that Africa becomes a global center of excellence in pharmaceutical and biotechnological innovation. The European Union stands firmly with Rwanda and with East Africa in this journey. Through this strong partnership, we can turn health sovereignty into both a public health achievement and a driver of economic opportunity. I wish you all a very fruitful discussion today, and I do hope new collaborations will be emerging from this conference. Together, we are building a future where access to medicines and vaccines is not a privilege, but it is a shared achievement. Murakoze cyane. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. I think the support of MAV Plus and all the other programs across countries has been a clear catalyst, and the partnership is clearly one that only gets stronger. Thank you very much. It is my pleasure now to introduce the guest of honor for today, Professor Emile Bienvenu. I will start by acknowledging that he's got lots of fans in the room. For anybody who's interacted with him, I think the only thing you go back is a sense of awe of how somebody embodies such calm, conviction, and resolve, but can be a friend, an approachable regulator at the same time. Right? So Rwanda FDA is one of the youngest regulators on the continent. However, it is one of the earliest to achieve the accomplishment of maturity level 3, and I'm very sure it'll soon be maturity level 4, because Prof is not going to stop at that. Elise ended with saying policy and industry and science have to come together. And everything that's happened on the regulatory end in Rwanda with Prof. Emile's leadership embodies just that. So I have all of the formal sentences which tell us who he is, but I'm simply going to introduce him as a real champion of private sector development for Rwanda, for the region, and for the continent, and a board member of AMA, but one who can truly make sure that regulations as an enabler for quality-assured manufacturing of a wide range of health products happens on the continent as soon as possible. Without further ado, Prof, the floor is yours.
Mwaramutse. Bonjour. Good morning. Distinguished guests, partners, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by conveying the greetings of Honorable Minister of State in the Ministry of Health of the Republic of Rwanda, who was keen to be here with us today, but unfortunately, due to another work commitment, he will not be able to attend this conference. I would like to thank everyone who, in one way or another, contributed to the success organization of this conference, the East Africa Pharma and Biotech Conference 2025. This conference, as we all know, has 3 main objectives. The first objective is about knowledge sharing on the Africa's evolving ecosystem for private sector investment in pharma, biotech, and health product manufacturing. The second one, networking and partnerships across stakeholders in the ecosystem. And the last one, cross-stakeholder interactions and ideation to shape enabling policy frameworks and interventions and catalyze public-private cooperation for sector development. Distinguished guests, let me put into context the first objective. This is an objective related to pharmaceutical local production. The African region imports more than 70% of finished pharmaceutical products. 99% of vaccines, indicating that only 1% of vaccines used on the continent is produced in Africa, only 1%. And the continent imports more than 90% of medical devices and active pharmaceutical ingredients, with little or no capacity for manufacturing of pharmaceutical quality excipients, vaccines, medical devices, and other health technologies. These figures call for a strategic and a collaborative approach to foster and promote local production on the African continent. I would like to recall that the 74th World Health Assembly urged the member states to engage in global, regional, and sub-regional networks related to promoting sustainable local production of quality, safe, effective, and affordable medicines, and to further enhance multi-stakeholder collaboration. It is obvious that this conference is indeed a response to this global call made by WHO. Local production of medicines and other health products can play an important role in improving access to the life-saving interventions, particularly in low and middle-income countries. In addition, local production can contribute to build domestic scientific and technical expertise, create jobs, stimulate a knowledge-based economy, and contribute to health-related targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. The COVID-19 pandemic visibly demonstrated that global manufacturing capacity is insufficient and global supply chains are vulnerable, especially in low and middle-income countries. The figures that I have just indicated imply reliance on imported medicines and other health products, which places the health security at severe risk in Africa. This is a call for African countries to support increased investment, private and public, to support local production of medical products, including vaccines, in order to achieve health security for Africa. Rwanda is among the countries prioritizing the local production agenda. The establishment of local manufacturing facilities of pharmaceutical products, including vaccines, have been initiated in Rwanda. There are several examples that can demonstrate this. I'm very sure that participants in this conference are aware of the establishment of BioNTech in the country. Rwanda has initiated an mRNA vaccine manufacturing agenda through the partnership with BioNTech. And there are other examples of pharmaceutical establishment and facilities that are already in the country, either operating or being established. I've seen in this room the CEO and co-founder of BioSawa, Dr. Mengis. Dr. Mengis, we probably have the opportunity to talk about BioSawa. This is a manufacturing facility that is ready to start producing biosimilars in the country here in Rwanda, and they have started to establish the facility in Masoro. I'm sure Dr. Mengis will have some time to talk about BioSawa and the production plan for this new facility in Rwanda. They are using a new technology, and this is a new modular platform that they have shipped to be used here in Kigali. I've seen in the room Mugisha Bai, the CEO of TKMD. This is another facility producing medical devices located in Rwamagana. They are producing AD syringes, auto-disable syringes, and they are being exported to different countries in the world through UNICEF and Gavi. I'm sure Mugisha will have some time to talk about this. We also have another facility, Cooper Pharma. Colleagues from Cooper, I could see them in the room. This is a new facility that is producing antibiotics, beta-lactams, actually. So the facility is already there. They have been working with us, and actually the production through different assays started already. And this is another facility that is operating here in Rwanda. These are a few examples that I wanted to mention. The colleagues have mentioned that here in the room, they can, have some time to talk about what they do, their production plan here in Rwanda. I'm mentioning this because this is a response to the Vision 2050 of the country of Rwanda, which aims at transforming this country from an importing one to a manufacturing one, and at a later stage, an exporting one. And we, as Rwanda, we aim at transforming this country into a biomanufacturing hub. So the facilities that are already established here are responding actually to one of the objectives of our vision, Vision 2050 of the Republic of Rwanda. To facilitate this agenda, Rwanda has also initiated support programs aiming at strengthening the national regulatory framework related to medical products, including vaccines. In this context, Rwanda Food and Drugs Authority, Rwanda FDA, has achieved the WHO Maturity Level 3 in December 2024, and Rwanda FDA is among 9 African countries that operates at Maturity Level 3. For us to achieve Maturity Level 3 is part of the overall plan to achieve Maturity Level 4 and to be designated as a WLA, WHO listed authority. So Maturity Level 3 is not our step, is not our stop. Our goal is to achieve Maturity Level 4 and to be designated as a WLA. Currently, what we aim at doing is to maintain the level we've achieved, and the best way of doing so is to keep progressing towards achieving Maturity Level 4. So these are the current plans that are already ongoing at Rwanda FDA. And I have to indicate that the government of Rwanda played a big role for Rwanda FDA to achieve this level. And I also would like to recognize the support of different partners who contributed in one way or another to achieving this level for Rwanda FDA. Maturity Level 3 witnesses that the country implements a robust and well-functioning regulatory system and is the minimum required for good regulatory oversight, especially for local pharmaceutical production. This indicates that the low maturity levels negatively impact the continent's capacity to provide appropriate regulatory oversight to local production. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, for me, this is an opportunity to share our experience, that a comprehensive mapping of the entire ecosystem supporting local production should be made prior to initiating local production itself, and importantly, efforts should be deployed to ensure that the regulatory system for medical products operates with a formal approach, fully implementing the 9 WHO Global Benchmarking Tool regulatory functions, matured at level 3 and upper. Mapping the ecosystem that is supporting local production is a must before local production is initiated. There is a need to make sure that all the pillars supporting the entire ecosystem are put in place before the initiation of local production. We need to ensure that the policies that are already existing support local manufacturing, local production, and we need to make sure that all the tools that are required can help to translate these different policies into practice to support local production. That is the reason why I'm explaining that one of the requirements is to be able to map whether the entire ecosystem supporting local production is in place. One of the pillars that is very important that should be put in place is a robust regulatory framework. If anyone happens to read Rwanda's Vision 2050, you will see that strengthening the pharmaceutical sector is one of the priorities captured in this Vision 2050. And Rwanda has made a mapping to identify what are the pillars to put in place. 5 pillars were identified. Of course, we've added others like environment and sustainability, access to finance. But the main key pillars were human resource, which is cross-cutting, research and development, supply chain. Another pillar was manufacturing, and the last one, but not the least, was the national regulatory framework. That is the reason why actually Rwanda FDA was established in 2018. It was actually to respond to one of the objectives of the Vision 2050 of the Republic of Rwanda. So a mapping of the entire ecosystem prior to initiating local production, in my opinion, if I can share this example, is a must. I was talking about strengthening the regulatory framework. This is one of the roles that African Medicine Agency will play. African Medicine Agency that is headquartered here in Kigali. Actually, the headquarters is not far from this hotel, just a few minutes walking. AMA will support the growth of local pharmaceutical production, one of the key objectives of the pharmaceutical manufacturing plan for Africa. Beyond the regulatory context, another aspect to consider is the implementation of the public-private partnership approach. This approach is considered as a game changer in Africa's pharma manufacturing landscape and a significant tool to ensure a more efficient local pharmaceutical production, both to address unmet medical needs and to improve industry competitiveness while promoting innovation, knowledge, and technology transfer. Distinguished participants, as I conclude, I believe that the panel discussions that will follow will shed more lights on different aspects that I've talked about, to exchange knowledge and ideas leading to joint efforts supporting the sustainable growth of the pharmaceutical and biotech sector in East Africa and overall on the African continent. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. It clearly creates the foundation for the overall goal of sector development. Without regulatory capacity, it's but a dream. This makes it a reality. I think what Prof. Emile has accomplished at Rwanda FDA, clearly one demonstrates political will, but it also demonstrates rigorous execution. We're not going to get these lofty goals accomplished without that approach. And finally, it also demonstrates a focus on an enabling ecosystem. We have to have an enabling ecosystem to accomplish these goals, and Rwanda FDA's journey and what Rwanda FDA is creating as an enabling environment for industry to set up be it complex biologicals, vaccines, medical devices, the whole suite of possibilities and health products, uh, makes the rest of the discussion during the day more tangible and realistic. So we're very glad we could start with your remarks today and your address. Thank you, Prof, for joining us. Now that we have the day declared open with Prof. Emil's remarks, I'm going to move to private sector here. So Danny, we're glad you're able to join us. We have with us today Danny Mutambe, CEO of the Conseil Medical Supply and Managing Partner of Pharmacy Conseil, a board member of the Rwanda Biomedical Center. He clearly doesn't want me to say a lot about him, but I will say he's an entrepreneur who shows what private sector can accomplish, and clearly a champion for what pharma and biotech manufacturing, for how it can evolve on the continent. Thank you, Danny. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Pushpa. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me. This is a great opportunity to talk about the industry. Not only in Rwanda, I'm from Rwanda, and you heard from previous speakers, RBC, Rwanda FDA, about how Rwanda is thriving and building an ecosystem that is conducive for doing business here. But Rwanda is part of the East African community and Africa as a continent. So we share the successes, but also the burden of the continent. I'm just going to give you a few numbers. 1.3 trillion. That's the volume in dollars, in US dollars, of the pharma market, the global pharma market. And Africa has approximately 23 billion volume of the same market. And this is from 1.4 billion people, with 30 to 40% that are only produced locally in the continent. Our pharma spending per capita is 6 times lower than the global average. It was said earlier that Africa pharmaceutical production is 80% actually of the production comes from 8 countries in the continent. So these numbers signals a challenge, but to every challenge is an opportunity. Some of the opportunities were mentioned. I just want to highlight a few of them that are critical for our sector. The AFCFTA, which is the Africa Free Trade, Continental Free Trade Area, is the largest free trade area in the world. This brings about 54 countries in the continent and has created, or through the Africa CDC and the UN ECA, brought about an initiative that is called the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Anchored Pharma Initiative. That has 3 pillars, which are pool procurement, local manufacturing, local production basically, and regulatory framework. These are an example of an initiative, of the Continental Initiative, that have shown to be a good example of how we can actually push the continental agenda into developing the sector, the pharma sector. In East Africa, the East African community, through the various initiatives, including the East Africa Regional Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Plan of Action, has pushed the regional integration, regulatory harmonization, and strengthening local production. For Rwanda, where I come from, as I said earlier, and I am second generation, coming from retailing, wholesaling, and now soon manufacturing through a collaboration. We benefit from a seamless collaboration between the government and the private sector. So basically, every advancement on at the public sector is ultimately positive for the private sector. For instance, the recent ML3 achievement from the Rwanda FDA has given us strength outside of Rwanda, in the region, but even in the continent and beyond. We also would like to acknowledge, as a private sector, all the initiatives that have taken place and all the organizations that are coming into country, including the African Medicines Agency, but also the Africa Pharmaceutical Technology Foundation, IVI, the International Vaccines Initiative in Africa, and others that bring about expertise in the continent. This will help strengthen, create more expertise and skill sets. The establishment of Cooper Pharma that collaborates with my company is a true statement of collaboration between actors in Africa. I would just like to bring about a true problem. And I think this is not the first time I've mentioned this, but while experts in this room, us, are seated here, talking about the development of pharmaceutical production in Africa, you have a certain percentage of people who produce substandard and falsified medicines. It's a huge burden for the continent. I would like to recognize the team of Expertise France that has supported an initiative around the fight against substandard and falsified products in the continent. And I really hope that this is our take-home. This is my take-home for you. This is something that we should fight, because the counterfeited products are focused on the medicines that we use for malaria, tuberculosis, and other antibiotics, which actually bear the heaviest burden for the continent. Let me conclude by stating a Latin phrase from one of my mentors. I'm sorry, I don't speak Latin, but that at least I know. Age quod ages. This means that do what you do, but do it well. Make sure that you achieve the best that you can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny. I think with Prof. Emile and you both emphasizing quality, I think the call to action on nurturing at scale and in a sustainable manner, quality assured manufacturing, embodying wherever possible collaborations like you have done to bring manufacturing into Rwanda is clearly a strong message. Thank you for that. I want to mention before we close the session, at the inaugural session, is that we have a packed day of very engaging discussions, both on the big picture, as we start with in the plenary panel right after this, but also on different building blocks, because to get this job done, we're going to need qualified human resources at scale. So a session very practically looking at what's happening on applied skilling. We need to get nuts and bolts together as a team, so a cross-stakeholder roundtable, bringing that dialogue into action in the room. And health products includes diagnostics. If we don't diagnose, we're not going to be able to treat. So in collaboration with CHAI, a very exciting session on diagnostics later today. and company presentations where you get to meet innovators and movers from the region. But on that note, I am going to thank my inaugural speakers, but also refresh for all of us, one, the clear, emphatic, collective goal that we're marching towards, the commitment to enablement from government, policymakers, and development partners, but the energy and private sector that we'll need to channel in the middle of all of this to make that happen. And I, for one, as a board member of MPP, would like to mention that the global health architecture is adapting also to enable this. Prof referred to WLA. We've adapted to make sure sub-licensee requirement is no more SRA or WHO PQ, it's WLA, right? And so this is a journey where we're going to reshape what tomorrow's value chains look like. And on that journey, encourage everybody to engage in constructive, open, forward-looking discussions, because what worked yesterday is now going to work tomorrow. But on that note, I couldn't be more delighted to get our day started with all of the inspiration that we've had here. May I request our inaugural speakers to step forward for a group photo before we break for tea.